Welcome, Magnus here, the PlayStation 5. We know what it looks like, but what features will it have and what type of connectability will it have? And what did I think of the conference overall? Stay tuned and check it out. Now, if you're new to my channel, definitely hang out and hit that subscribe button if you like old games coming back to life. I love to talk about nostalgic games and basically play them in the modern age and remakes and all that other stuff. So if you like that type of stuff, definitely consider subscribing, especially for Shenmue. Super Shenmue fan here, and you'll catch those videos as well when I update them. But welcome. Today we're talking about the PlayStation 5. Now, recently I uploaded a video with my live reaction to Sony's conference with basically the PlayStation 5 unveil. The games that I'm excited about are definitely Resident Evil 8. That's one of them. Hitman 3. I haven't played the first two. I haven't even touched a game in the Hitman franchise, but looking at those trailers made me want to jump in. The next Spider-Man game with Miles Morales. Definitely want to check that out on next generation Sony hardware. Now, I think that they're probably going to just port Spider-Man over, and then that could be like another add-on. I wouldn't doubt that that game would be available for PS4 as well, just to kind of being able to transition from one generation to the other. Those are the top games that I'm excited about, but another thing that I wanted to touch upon is the actual system itself. Now, in a previous video where I was talking about Sega and them possibly unveiling a new system, which they did, the Game Gear Mini. But anyway, when I was talking about that, one of the things upon this generation that I was speculating on before we move on to the next is the fact that physical media is kind of going by the wayside.
How much do we need optical media? And once, let's say this happens tomorrow with the PlayStation 5 and Xbox decide no more optical media, then you'll have to download them.
You no longer need a GameStop or a video game store in general to take up store space to host games, because these game companies are selling their games online now, and you could just download them and play them. Now, granted, it's not a solution for everybody, but for me personally, it's kind of been the way I've been gaming. Now, let me explain. Back in the PS3 era, I refused to download games. I would make sure that I had the physical copy of the game. And the reason is, I didn't feel that it was a good or fair thing to do to charge somebody the same as a retail price and not give them something for their money, something physical. They were charging the same, like $60 price point for a game, and not giving you the actual packaging, the actual disc. It was just, here's the download, that's it. I particularly did not like that. And I like playing off the disc. Now, the disc itself, you could play the game right away. You pop it in, and for the most part, in the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 generation, you could pop a game in and play right away without having to install. Some games required some installs, but it wasn't every game. You can actually buy a game, not have to install it, and just play it right away. But then when we moved and upgraded into the next generation after that, which was the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, you were required to install all of your games. All of your games had to run off of your hard drive, regardless if you had the disc or not. And this is what sold me on digital downloads. I didn't want to find the disc, put it in the system, just to play it, and then if I can't find it, I'm screwed and out of this game. I wanted the convenience of being able to have the download already in the system, choose my game, and start right away. I don't have to go looking for the games. I don't have to take up closet space or shelf space or room space just to have the game. It's all saved on the cloud that I have access to the game, and then downloadable whenever I want, which is what building a collection should be. Access to all your games whenever you want. Now, there's always that scary feeling of like, well, what if they turn off my license and I can't play it? That was a risk I was willing to take. I can still download all of my PS3 games to this day. And if one day I don't have access to some PS3 downloadables that I did download back then, you know, that's the price that you have to pay and that you sacrifice for. However, I could also maintain them on my hard drive and never delete them if I don't want to delete them. On my PS4, I have a couple of external hard drives with a bunch of games, and that's how I could keep it. on one simple external hard drive so that I don't have to download it. So there's still that option of keeping a copy for yourself so you don't have to sync it to the cloud. That having that option is pretty good. So now we're moving into the next generation, and the PlayStation 5 looks interesting to say the least. I personally like the design. I was surprised that they went with white, but then it makes sense because the controller is white as well, with a nice contrast between the blue, the white, and the black. That was pretty cool. But as far as what the system can do, at least the disc-based system, it looks like you're gonna have 4K Blu-ray capability, which is nice. You're gonna have 2 USB ports in the front and a USB-C port, which is pretty interesting, and that's for a faster interface. I would imagine that that's for connecting an external SSD when you're actually expanding your memory, and then PlayStation's gonna have its stringent requirements on that SSD to make sure that your games still play fast as well, which makes sense to me. But what other interface options will we have? Will there be an HDMI port in and out? I couldn't get a clear look at it when I was watching the conference, and all of the videos that I've seen of the PlayStation 5 didn't really give a real breakout as to what you can do or use or connect it to. I would love if it had an in and an out, of course. But traditionally, if it only had an out, it's fine. The ability to connect external hard drives was a plus on the PS4, and going on the PS5, that's pretty awesome. But let's talk about the surprise digital version. Having a disc-based version is what we all expected. Having a digital-only version is sending a message. This time, normally systems are separated by, for example, hard drive space and specific features. But this is the first system that I know of, besides the portable system. And PlayStation's done that before. They had the PSP Go that actually didn't have a UMD disk drive to be able to play games on the go, which was interesting. And that was download only. But now they're doing it on a console, where a console is nope, no external media besides a hard drive. You're gonna have to download all of your games. And to me, that makes sense. That's where we're going. The fact that we've been using discs to connect to your system to play the games, to me, is antiquated. It's just, optical media to me is way too slow, and if you're installing it takes way too long. And yeah, I would rather download my games, but if I'm going to buy physical media games, I would like something that's SD card based, or what Nintendo has done with their Switch, basically leaning away from optical media. The days of optical media, I think, should be going extinct. We're moving on to a next generation. Many computers today do not have optical media. I know that people mostly are now watching their movies either streaming service or some other type of service, or basically off their computer, and leaning away from optical media. You might as well say that optical media is, at least for the next decade, is probably going to almost, if not completely, disappear, and it's going to go the way of the VHS. I'm just saying, it just seems to be headed that way. Now, CDs themselves have lasted a long time, and actually listening to CDs is good, but even that has gone the way of the cassette tape as well. So the fact that now video game industry is finally catching up and moving into something more progressively modern, progressively faster, is exciting. Now, but what about all those that are basically prefer to have physical media? Well, if the industry moves a direction, as much as you don't want it to go that way, you almost get used to it and have no choice. And I wonder if you even miss it. And you will. I mean, collectors always have something to look forward to. But this way of leaning away from optical media, leaning away from actually physical media from video games, in my opinion, means better archiving. You can store these games on your hard drives. You can store these games on a lot more of your games in simple locations, easy to grab locations. Here's a handful of PlayStation 1 games and a handful of Dreamcast games. I love these games. I love the fact that I have them, but the condition of them and the wear and tear after so many years, I mean, I'm worried about them. I try to take care of them as much as possible, but moving them from location to location when I move, and of course, not everyone treats them as kindly as I do, will unfortunately cause these things to wear and tear. Now here's another thing. I'll take care of a game, make sure it's in its case, make sure it's taken care of, and then when I pop it open, I definitely find the game in here, Mortal Kombat Trilogy, But then I also found Parappa the Rapper in here, and I can't find the Parappa the Rapper case. I didn't do it. Someone else did it. You can't, I mean, it's very difficult. You can treasure your things, but occasionally someone can tamper with whatever items that you have. And that can happen to a hard drive as well, but at least it's a lot easier to keep things sorted when you have them stored digitally. I've got this virtual pool game as well, and I'm curious, is it even in here? So PlayStation 1 Virtual Pool, it is. Again, some people are more organized than others, but unfortunately, this wear and tear, look, even the cover ripped off. It's sad that it happens, but it happens. So moving on from that, the fact that we're going digital only, yeah, it sucks, but we grow, and I'm ready to embrace it. I would love to buy all my games digitally. I don't need a game sales to buy from. Don't tell him I said that.
Well, all right then.
I don't need that guy to buy my games from. I could download everything right away, and the kid version of me would have loved that. I remember waiting for Shenmue to be released and then having to go to a specific store that imported Shenmue 2, for example, on the Dreamcast to be able to get it, and wait until it opens just to be able to buy the game. Now, if I wanted that same imported game, potentially, that could still be a problem, right? Now, if I wanted a game upon release, all I have to do is pre-order it, and then when it's released, I'll probably already have my download ready to go and play the game. That's why I don't know which version I'll get. A lot of my decision when it comes to which version I'll get is basically what are my needs and does the system have enough. For example, I to this day still have a working PlayStation 3 60GB version FAT that comes with the Emotion 2 engine to let it play PlayStation 2 games. Now, if you don't know, upon the release of the original PlayStation 3, they came with two versions, a 20GB version and a 60GB version. Now that was the main difference that they announced, but there was more than that. The backwards compatibility was on both versions as well, but one of them had the ability to read off of several different types of physical media such as SD cards, such as compact flash cards, and memory card duos that were Sony specific. But it also had more USB ports, and it had a chrome trim, and it was really nice looking for the 60GB version, where the 20GB version did not have the ability to have the card readers. It did not have the ability to even go Wi-Fi. You had to be connected via Ethernet. So there were a lot of differences, but that older version of the PlayStation also has the ability to be backwards compatible with the PlayStation 2 game. So you can play PS1, PS2, and PS3 games on that original fat PlayStation 3. And I have it connected to my main TV where my PS4 is connected, so I could play all the PlayStation versions up until PlayStation 4. So that one system covers PS1, 2, and 3, and then my PS4 is for PS4. That's why to me it's important to know which model that you're going to get. Now, the digital version is expected to be the cheaper version, and I would imagine that there will probably be a potential $100 difference between the two. And I would imagine a lot hardcore gamers are going to lean towards the one with the disc drive, which I might do as well. But I don't know if the difference, for example, is only the 4K Blu-ray drive. I don't know how much I would lean towards that. I'll tell you why. I'm watching 4K movies on my television that come in streaming, and I'm just fine with that. I'm not into buying physical movies anymore like I once was. So do I see myself buying movies? No. Do I see myself buying physical PlayStation 5 media? No, not anymore. Like I said, I don't own any physical media PlayStation 4 games except for Shenmue 3. And I do appreciate it as well, but I leave Shenmue 3 in the PlayStation 4 at all times because I'd never need to switch it. And quite honestly, to look for that game if I didn't have it in there would be a little bit frustrating. I would almost download the digital version if I had more games just to get away from it. If that's my habits, then I'm going to stick to that. I'm going to stick to that. And if I want to watch 4K Blu-rays, I'll buy a 4K Blu-ray player. Now the difference would be, okay, if you want a 4K Blu-ray player, and a 4K Blu-ray player is probably more than $100, why not just pay that difference and get the upgraded PS5? I don't know. I don't have any desire to watch 4K Blu-rays when I could just stream, and I'm perfectly fine with streaming. But what are the other caveats? What else are we sacrificing, if anything at all? That's the real question. For example, if the PS5 digital version did not have backwards capability, which we don't know what the status is with the backwards capability of the PS5, but if we do find it out, and the digital version doesn't have backwards capability, then I'm not going to get the digital version. But if it does have backwards capability and there are no other sacrifices besides the disk drive, I might lead towards the digital. I don't particularly borrow games too often, if at all. I can't remember the last time that I borrowed a game and cared about borrowing a game. If I want a game, I'll play it, I'll buy it for myself, or I'll download the demo to see if I like it. But borrowing a game, quickly beating it, and then giving it back to a friend, not something I really do. I tend to like to keep my games. And trading in games, and I'm going to be honest, when it comes to the business of trading in games to like a GameStop or anything, it has never been worth it. Many years ago, I had this Xbox collection of games. I think I have one Prince of Persia in here that was used, $10. So I said, here GameStop, how much will you give me for all of these great Xbox games? And this was when Xbox was kind of like dying out and it was going to be 360 and PlayStation 3. How much will you give me for all of this? They looked at it all, they said, we'll give you $8. Now in here are a lot of great games. Great games. Guitar Hero, Gears of War triple pack, Sega Genesis collection. So after all that, $8. And at that point I'm like, why? Why? I'd rather sell them myself personally to somebody. And even then, I have trouble letting go of games to begin with. So from a trading perspective, I'm not one who trades games. I usually collect them. So it doesn't make sense for me to get the physical version at all. I guess the only thing would come to, will I just want to get the best version day one? Which is possible as well. But let me know what you guys think in the comment down below. Would you consider digital or would you get the standard version? I'm assuming all of you are going to get the standard version because quite honestly, you want the best of everything if you're a fan. Me? I don't know. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Definitely subscribe if you haven't already. And like, because that helps out this channel a ton. And a lot of you lately are new subscribers. So welcome. Welcome to our community. And as always, you can make my day if you subscribe today. This is Magnus, and I'm out. And that was to those who haven't already joined. I guess that was kind of weird, huh? Anyway, thanks as always, guys. See you later.